Hello, it's John Heaton, and today I'm going to do a celebration of the group Splinter, which is quite an obscure group, which was on George Harrison's Dark Horse label to begin with. And when when fans were waiting to hear George Harrison's 1974 concert before he came on, the sound of Splinter, Costafine Town was played over the PA, and I remember Ross Michaels in the book George Harrison Yesterday and Today saying this sounded like what George could have sounded like had his voice not been wrecked, and it was a very pleasant sound. And this is the album, and that picture, there's an outtake of this picture with George Harrison like there or something. I think it was taken in the grounds of his Henley home. And this album, The Place I Love, was produced by George Harrison, and he's on in virtually every track under various pseudonyms like Harry Georgeson, P. Roducer, J. Raj Harrisane. There's a few others as well I'm trying to look for. Those are the main ones. And then Klaus Voormann on bass, Willie Weeks on bass, Gary Wright on piano, Mel Collins on horns, Jim Keltner on drums, and this was in a very attractive gatefold sleeve. It's got the lyrics. It's on the Dark Horse, newly formed Dark Horse label, which hadn't been seen at the time. Just show you the record as well. And the gatefold opened up to this. And it's a very pleasant album. There's a lot of standout tracks on here, like Costafine Town, as I said, and Shine a Light and Drink All Day. It's a strong album. And then in '75 they continued in strong form. George Harrison was not involved in here, although his picture's on the cover there, as you can see. The Material World gatefold picture there, interspersed with them. Tom Scott was heavily involved in this album. Chris Spedding is on guitar. Anyone else of note? Billy Preston on organ on one track, Jim Keltner on one track. And this is a very strong album. There's a few videos on YouTube you can find of them performing songs from those first two albums. Those were their most commercially successful, but this album also came out on Dark Horse, and was also on the Dark Horse label, and George Harrison is on guitar, and there's of particular notice the track Round and Round. Check that track out on YouTube for George Harrison's superb guitar solo. But this album also has great other tracks like I Apologize, New York City, Who Am I is a great track. It's a really nice, albeit middle of the road album. And then the last album I had on vinyl was this one, released in 1980, which people say it's a come down after the first couple of albums, but I think it's a fine album. Another Time, Another Place, it's a great track. Too Far Down the Line, great harmonies. Take It or Leave It. Bob Purvis and Bill Elliott are the two members of Splinter. Bill Elliott was the lead singer in the Elastic Oz band, God Save Oz, the 1971 single which John Lennon produced. So that's a bit of history for you. So connections with John and George. But by this time, they'd gone their separate ways from George, and Mel Collins is playing the horns here. Anyone else of note? I can't think of anyone particularly famous here, but no matter. It's a decent album, and I just picked it up on CD for the first time the other day, which is very nice. And then thank you to someone who did a comment on a previous video telling me that there was another Splinter album only released in Japan, and I wasn't even aware of this, so thank you, whoever you are. I can't remember your name, sorry. Streets at Night. And this is available on CD. The original Japan is only released in Japan, and the original cover was this scantily clad lady. So I'm on the lookout. In fact, I looked at Discogs. It is available on vinyl, but quite pricey. But this album was just a revelation to pick it up, and like a lost album for me. And okay, it's a bit disco-y in its feel, but I think it's very strong. Streets at Night, the opening track, is brilliant. I Can't Turn You On is a wonderful ballad. Is It For Life is great. Stateside Girl is great. Evergreen is good, about Bob Purvis's father, or the character in the song's father, wishing he would not become a lumberjack, even though all he wanted to do was be like a lumberjack like his father. A bit Monty Python-esque there. And then a great single, Danger Zone, which it's a guilty pleasure for me. I think it's a great single, and I've got lots of Splinter singles. This one, I don't think it's in the right label, the right cover. Drink All Day from Costafine Town. Costafine Town, the original single. This one is nice because it's in a Dark Horse label. Which Way Will I Get Home from the Harder to Live album. Then Round and Round, got two versions of Round and Round, a double A side with both sides being Round and Round, and then this other one with I'll Bend For You on the B side, which is a good B side. And yeah, I mean, commercially they didn't do anything after Harder to Live, or even after the first album. And then, but Danger Zone, I have the original single on Barn Records because it was released in Europe, even though the album was only released in Japan. So really, really impressed with Streets at Night. It's probably my favourite at the moment because I'm playing it so much. Great guitar. Alan Clark is on keyboards. I think it's the same Alan Clark who played with Dire Straits, I'm not sure. And then Terry Gavagham, whose studio they recorded the album in Durham, 1978. He's supplying some good guitar. So this band is quite Beatlesque, quite middle of the road, it has to be said, but great beat, great high falsetto harmonies, and very relaxing, and nothing wrong with middle of the road music. And although George Harrison would lose his interest in this band halfway through their career, and nothing's been heard of them since 1980, really. I think their catalogue is strong, and I would recommend any of you who like George or who like the Beatles, check out Splinter, because I think their catalogue is pretty awesome, and I'm going through a bit of a Splinter period at the moment, so thank you for watching. See you next time.